Gender equality is when people of all genders have equal rights, responsibility, and opportunity. Everyone is affected by gender inequality: women, men, trans, and gender diverse people, children, and families. Gender equality is intrinsically linked to sustainable development and is vital to the realization of human rights for all. The overall objective of gender equality is a society in which women and men enjoy the same opportunity, rights, and obligation in all spheres of life.
Gender equality might mean that women and men should be treated equally or differently. For example, it may imply that women and men should be paid the same for doing the same work, or they should be treated different medicines or methods in order to make healthcare equal.
This started in the 19th Amendment, ratified in 1920, legalized women's suffrage or right to vote. The Equal Pay Act, put into law by President John F. Kennedy in 1963, helped ensure equal earnings for both men and women by illegalizing discrimination based on sex.
And this is the purpose of the gender equality. The first one, to end all forms of discrimination against women everywhere. Next, to eliminate all forms of violence against women in public and private spheres. It's including trafficking in person and sexual exploitation, as well as various other types of exploitation. Next is to eliminate all harmful practices such as child marriage, forced and early marriage, and female circumcision. Recognize and value unpaid caring and domestic work through the provision of public services, infrastructure and social protection policies, and the promotion of shared responsibility within nationally appropriate households and families. Next is to ensure full and effective participation and equal opportunities for women to lead at all levels of decision making in political, economic, and community life.
And this is the biggest impact of the gender inequality.
Patriarchy comes from the patriarchy, meaning the structure that places the male role as sole role, central, and everything else. The patriarchy system that dominates society culture causes gender equality and inequity to affect into a wide range of human activity. Patriarchy is a prevalent social system in a society that perpetuates male dominance over women. The patriarchy social system entails men to women. Their dominance not only includes the personal realm but also in a broader sphere such as political, educational, economic, social, legal, and so forth. Within the personal domain, patriarchy culture is the root of the violence addressed by men to women on the basis of male privilege. They also felt they had the right to exploit female body. Of course, this did harm to the woman's side. However, there are a lot of cases against women. As one of the most constantly passed down examples is that a woman should not work at a man's job. For example, being an architect is dominated by men, but that doesn't mean that a woman can't become a great architect. Restriction on the role of women by patriarchy leave women shackled and discriminate against inequality between the roles of man and woman become one of the structure barriers that causes the individual in society not to have the same access. The reason why patriarchy culture still exists in Indonesia: 1. The practice of patriarchal labor that has existed since men had not known the writing and still hunt and cook. 2. Social constructs of men. The role of media in accessing a woman's substance. An example of the social problem of patriarchy: 1. domestic violence in Indonesia, KDRT, the patriarchy culture then influenced men to be more powerful than women, so that the wife has limitation in making choices or desires and has a tendency to comply with all wishes of the husband, even bad wishes. 2. Cases of sexual harassment. Patriarchy culture positioning men as strong and tend to have power for doing anything to women. This leads to the high rates of sexual harassment in Indonesia. 3. Number premature marriage. There is the influence of patriarchy culture and social construction established by community on premature marriage, such as women being benefactor and merely dabbling in the domestic sector. 4. The stigma of divorce. Patriarchy culture reflects negatively on widow and widowers, so in social culture condition there is often injustice and discrimination, including stigma.
Feminism or the feminist movement is the belief in social, economic, and political equality of the sexes. Feminism is manifested worldwide and is represented by various institutions committed to acting on behalf of women's rights and interests. Refers to a series of political campaigns for reforms on issues such as reproductive rights, domestic violence, maternity leave, equal pay, women's suffrage, sexual harassment, and sexual violence. What the origin of the feminism? The term of feminism appeared in France in late of 1880s by Henbertine, a clerk in her journal La Citoyenne as Le Féminin, where she tried to criticize male domination and to claim for women's rights in addition to the emancipation promised by the French Revolution. There are so many types of feminism, which the first one is liberal feminism. What is liberal feminism? Liberal feminism is a particular approach to achieving equality between men and women. Radical feminism is a movement that believes sexism is so deeply rooted in society that the only cure is to eliminate the concept of the gender. Marxist feminism or materialist feminism is an important for feminists. It calls for an end to capitalism through a socialist reformation of economy.
A double standard is the application of different sets of principles for situations that are, in principle, the same. It is often used to describe treatment whereby one group is given more latitude than others. Double standard can be means the habit of treating one group differently than another when both groups should be treated the same. Here is the example. You can see at the picture number 1 is about flirting at work based on personal preferences. You can see how different reaction when the girl get flirting by different men with the same compliment. The next example is when we judge outfits someone, we forgetting about people are comfortable in them. And next, each client deserves attention regardless of the size of their wallet. Next example is not just the sweet fluffies that are worthy of being adopted. They all need a safe place to call. Number 5. The older generation accuses children of being addicted to their phones, but they are not noticing that their own addiction to television. The sixth example. Society praises men for getting attention from the opposite sex, while women are condemned for it. The next example. A woman driver is still considered worse than a man. You can see that when you see a woman driving a car, you will think that she is doing worse. But you normalize a man when doing the same things what women drivers do. This is how we react to sadness according to the gender of a person, not according to their feelings. And next is this is the same behavior from strangers and our own children causes us to have a different reaction. And next, we expect the mother to pay more attention to a child than the father. And the last example is a person's appetite and figure are their own business. So guys, this is how double standards are ruining our life. Maybe some of us have ever felt treated differently by others like the example. And so what we can do now is just we should treating others with the same treat without see about their gender and their condition. It's because we are same human beings. That's why we should treat them with the same treat.
Hello, my name is Farry Theo B and I'm gonna explain about toxic masculinity. First of all, we have to differentiate between two separate terms that are masculinity and toxic masculinity. What is masculinity? Masculinity is a set of behaviors and practices that have traditionally been associated with men and manhood in our culture, and that includes both positive and negative things. While toxic masculinity, on the other hand, is a loose term that is used to refer to a subset of those behaviors which are harmful and destructive, behaviors linked to domination, humiliation, and control. Toxic masculinity behavior can be marked by emotional detachment, hypercompetitiveness, sexual objectification of women, aggression, intimidation, and etc. Toxic masculinity is driven by an overwhelming fear of emasculation, the fear of being perceived by others as feminine and therefore unmanly. And even when those behaviors are not celebrated, it's often framed as acceptable or normal and then excused as just guys being guys or boys being boys. Those behaviors can cause harmful effects such as the suppression of emotion, the discouragement of seeking help, and misogyny. That means the hatred, contempt, or prejudice against women or girls. How do we prevent it? Well, we have choices. We can unlearn them. We can choose not to engage in the more toxic behaviors and instead choose to pursue more positive, empathetic, and cooperative forms of masculinity.